Hi everyone, welcome to my double game week 24 transfer special. It's a double game week which gives us the opportunity to get huge scores. And when you combine it with chips being activated, this has potential to be an incredible FPL game week. In this video, I'm going to be discussing my transfer plans and the thinking behind my moves. I'm going to be discussing my double game week 24 strategy and how it links to blank game week 29. I'm also going to be discussing the fixtures to target. We can't be blindsided just by the double game week 24. We must think about the upcoming game weeks as well. Just in case you're not already stacked up, I'm going to give you my top 3 Liverpool players to buy and my top 3 Everton players to buy. And also the players to avoid. And lastly, I'm going to discuss the other players to target. Again, we mustn't be blindsided by double game week 24. Yes, we need to attack it, but we also need to think about game week 25, 26, 27. There's other teams in form and players delivering points. We need those players in our team. Now, if all of this sounds good to you, do me a favor, drop a like. I'd love to reach 100 likes in this video, so please, let's see if we can make it happen. Right, let's get straight into it. This is how I'm currently set up for my double game week 24. I've made no transfers yet. As you can see, I've got 4 free transfers and 0.8 million in the bank. There's no injuries, no suspensions. So in theory, I have a 15-man squad ready to go. If you look at the screen, you can see I've already got 3 double game week players. I've got Trent, and I've got Salah, which are obviously mandatory from my perspective. And I've also got Mikalenko, who I bought in last week with game week 23 in mind. Now I'm going to want to add a couple more double game week players. And my perspective has changed since last week, which is interesting. This is why I say sometimes a week's information can be very useful. Although in my case, a week's information has cost me a huge haul because I could have went Gakpo earlier as I'm likely to bring him in this week, but I lost the haul versus Ipswich. They're the kind of things that can hurt you when you do wait and be patient. Now, just in case you are still not fully aware, it's a double game week 24. I've been banging on about this for the last couple of weeks, so hopefully all my viewers are fully prepared and ready to hopefully gain the edge on other managers in your mini leagues who are not prepared. What does a double game week actually mean? Well, it's a normal game week for the majority of teams, apart from Liverpool, who have 2 games, and Everton have 2 games. Liverpool play Bournemouth away and Everton away, so 2 away fixtures. Everton play Leicester at home and Liverpool at home. Now, why do we get so excited about double game weeks? Us FPL managers, we absolutely lose our mind for double game week players, and as you're going to see in this video later on, I'm one of those managers. I will be bringing in players that normally I would never touch, but the probability of one player having 2 games versus other players having 1 is just irresistible for us FPL managers. So you're going to see, as the deadline approaches, you will see other managers jumping on. Even the ones who say, no, I'm not going to be jumping on, I'm going to stick, I'm going to be strong, you will see them slowly getting 3 or 4 double game week players in their teams. Let's talk Liverpool and the best triple up. I'm going to start with Mohamed Salah. It's obvious he's the best FPL asset. He's been incredible this season. I think everyone watching this video owns him, so there's no issue here. I do not need to sell him to you. What I will say, he's predicted to score 13.77 in this double game week. So if you are using a chip like triple captain, you should be in for a nice little treat. My second favorite Liverpool asset is Trent. Recently, he's picked up again. I know he had that hideous performance versus Manchester United. Since then, he's been good. His return, I know the clean sheets have not been there, but his attacking prowess has been on display. He could have had a huge haul, but it's only the post and other players missing their chances that stopped him from a mega haul. For me, I think he's worth every penny. And in his double, and after the double, don't forget, they have Wolves. So for me, another great player to have into your team. The next Liverpool player I'm going to talk about is Konate, who's having an outstanding season. Recently spoke about his knee issues since he's come back from injury. I think he'll be fine. I think Slot will play him in the Premier League games and managing him in the cups. At 5.2 million, he's a cheap price for a Premier League challenging team, and clean sheets surely will start coming back to Liverpool. At the start of the season, they were rock solid. Recently, they've had a little wobble, but I see the clean sheets improving in the upcoming fixtures. Now, if you want another Liverpool attacker, Cody Gakpo already showed us in game week 23 what he's about. A huge mega haul, so well done to every one of you that went early and brought him in to attack Ipswich. Made perfect sense. You've got the Ipswich fixture, which I spoke about last week's video, and now you've got the double, and you've got the price rises, so you're in a lovely place. One thing to note, Gakpo's only scored 1 goal away, and the majority of his goals are all at home, which is interesting when you think about Liverpool's double game week. They're both away. 1 game to Bournemouth, who are flying, and 1 game to Everton, who have got a little bounce, winning 2 games in a row with David Moyes. But for me, if you've already got him, no problems. You're going to play him and hopefully enjoy a couple of returns. And if you don't own him, I still think he's the third best Liverpool attacking asset. And a player I'm going to talk about more when I show you my transfers for this upcoming game week. Next up, I put Darwin Núñez in here. He's the joker in the pack. You would only go him if you get information after the midweek Champions League game someone else is injured, like Diaz or Gakpo, which means his minute instantly increase, or you get information just before the deadline that tells you he's going to start. Otherwise, I don't think you go there. Way too risky. Yes, he's cheaper, but I do not think he's going to be as safe as Gakpo and Diaz. And lastly, I've got a goalkeeper for you. Alisson Becker, the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, coming in at 5.5 million. If you're frustrated with Flecken, Henderson, Raya or Sales, this goalkeeper is ready waiting for you. He's kept 2 clean sheets in the last 5, and surprisingly, those clean sheets are away. And Liverpool's double game week, 2 away games. I mean, you never know. There are a couple other honourable mentions I will mention. Of course, the captain. If you want to spend a bit more money than Konate, Virgil van Dijk has been incredible this season as well. The other player is Szoboszlai, who scored against Ipswich, a lovely taken goal, and is a player that plays in a very attacking position in this Liverpool team. He hasn't delivered consistently this season, but he is a player that Slot relies on playing in that very attacking position. So if you really want a left field punt from the Liverpool midfielders, he could be one. But like I said, my favourite triple up from Liverpool is Salah, Trent and Gakpo. Next up, let's have a look at Everton players. There's not as many as Liverpool, of course, but there are a couple players that are catching my eye and probably caught yours as well. Let's start with a goalkeeper here, Pickford, who is super consistent FPL goalkeeper actually. Last season, he was one of the best performing goalkeepers, and this season he's doing not too bad as well. He's pretty good with bonus points, and Everton will keep clean sheets. I know they've lost Dyche, who was the clean sheet master, but Moyes is also a very defensive coach, and he'd like to think some of those clean sheets stick. At 5 million, he's a little cheaper than Alisson, so it depends on your strategy, because I must remind you, if you went with Alisson, Game week 29, Liverpool could blank, where Everton don't have that issue there, which means if you are thinking about dodging the blank game week without using any chips, maybe you would go Pickford for the double game week and leave Alisson. These are things to think about and make sure you plan. I discussed this in last week's video. I'm going to talk about this a bit more later on as a reminder of how you should be making your moves thinking forward. The next asset I really like is another defensive player from Everton, and it's Mykolenko. At 4.4 million, I bought him in last week at 4.3 million. He's already had a price rise. I think he might get one more just before the deadline. The reason I like him, he's cheap enough for me to be able to rotate him after the double game week, so I don't feel the need that I'm paying for an expensive asset that I have to start, where at this price I can rotate him with Hall and other cheap defenders. My third player I wanted to discuss has unfortunately picked up an injury. It's not looking good for Calvert-Lewin. Scored a stunning goal versus Spurs. I was thinking he's back in the picture just before a double game week, a penalty taker at 5.4 million. I might have gambled that, even though he was blanking non-stop. Unfortunately, he's not going to be an option now. That looks like a hamstring injury, so definitely don't go near him unless Moyes gives you the thumbs up and says that he's 100% fit. At 4.8 million, Brentford is another defensive asset. Excellent player. You could tell him and Moyes are going to get on. He's a rock in the heart of that defense with some attacking potentials in set pieces. So if you want to go there and want to spend a bit more than Mykolenko, no problem. Another player right there for you. Even though Calvert-Lewin is injured, I do have an attacker from Everton. And Dye has scored in the last 2 consecutive games, and he even took the penalty when Calvert-Lewin came off, which is very, very good. We love penalty takers in FPL, and at 5.4 million, which is the same price as Calvert-Lewin, he's definitely a player I'm considering. I'm going to talk about him later on in a bit more detail. He's come into the picture all of a sudden. And the last player I'm going to talk about is another defensive asset, Tarkowski, coming in at 4.8 million, just like Brantwaite. So it depends which one you want to go for. From my perspective, I'd prefer to save the money and just go Mykolenko and hope for a clean sheet or a random assist. Then after that, I could play him in easy fixtures. If not, put him on the bench. At 4.4 million, it's not exactly hurting the bank. You won't feel any way benching him. It works with the strategy. You can keep him for long term, keep him on the bench. No issues at all. Now, once you've targeted Liverpool and Everton, we mustn't forget about other teams which are coming into great fixtures and teams that are in form. Let's start with Bournemouth. They've taken the Premier League by storm this season. Just come off 2 incredible results, scoring 9 goals versus Newcastle and Nottingham Forest. And they weren't lucky, they fully deserved to win both games. Now, Bournemouth are currently on a club record 11 games unbeaten in the Premier League. It tells you how they're playing, how difficult they are to play, and they top so many of the Premier League statistics. One of them I'll give you is the counter pressing. They currently have got 1,300 plus counter pressing actions, which tells you why they're so difficult to play against. Super high intensity, dangerous team. I will talk about Bournemouth's fixtures later, but they do have good fixtures, which is making me want their players even more. Let's start with Kluivert, who recently has been incredible. Like, honestly, he's playing at a different level. At one stage, he was in and out of the teams, the minutes were a bit reduced, but recently, he's just looked a different player, full of confidence. The minutes have gone up, he's taking penalties, and at 5.7 million, surely he's the best cheap midfielder now. It remains to be seen if his minutes stay solid as other players return from injury, but as far as I can see, he is super hot property. I can see people have been buying him non-stop since the last couple of game weeks, and I don't blame them. Very good player, playing the best he has played since he's joined Bournemouth. For me, he's a super option. He's definitely on my watch list. I'll talk a little bit about him later on as well, actually. Next up, we've got a cheap defender. So this is what I meant by benching the Everton players after the double game week. You can have players like Kirkes who have been flying. I think he's the second highest scoring defender at 4.9 million. He's a super bargain, and with the upcoming fixtures, I can see him getting a couple of more assists, maybe goals, and some clean sheets. Definitely a player needs to be on your watch list. Now, Dango recently has been playing up front since they had the injury to their striker, and he's returning. I mean, he scored a spectacular goal on the weekend. Super high leap to get that header. I've been very impressed by him. Looks a very awkward, very difficult player to play against. The minutes are there, and he's only £5 million, so super cheap. So if you don't want to go Kluivert, you could easily go him. And he's playing out of position. He's been playing up front recently. So as I said, options are at Bournemouth. And I'm going to give you one more. The trusted Semenyo. Loads of us have had him for a long time this season. At one stage, he was frustrating. I kept on benching him for his returns, and every time I played him, he didn't return. But at 5.4 million, he's still a super good option. And when Bournemouth are playing this well, with the upcoming fixtures, I think any of these four players will improve your team. Next, I've got two Brentford players for you. And why am I mentioning them? Well, same as Bournemouth. They've got good fixtures coming up, but also players like Mbeumo, they've proven to be fixture proof. He has been returning relentlessly recently. Loads of managers sold him around game week 15, 16, 17, moving for other players like Gordon. In that period, he has returned loads of points, and in the last game week, he got a penalty against Crystal Palace and returned a 7-pointer. At 7.8 million, I can tell you now, I think he's going to be the most popular transfer in next week. Loads won't go this week because they're too busy buying in the Everton and Liverpool players, trying to maximize their double game week players. But from next week, I'm almost certain he will be one of the most transferred players in, especially if he returns versus Spurs. And Wissa at 6.3 million. For example, if you're looking to swerve a Gakpo or Ndiaye, you could go straight to Wissa. He's been excellent and pivotal to Brentford's attack, involved in everything. Him and Mbeumo really do play off each other. And with the upcoming fixtures, I see that as a perfect move as well. Nothing wrong with that if you did want to avoid a double game week player and attack Wissa, thinking more ahead. As I said, there are times as FPL managers can be blinded by double game weeks where you can look further afield and think, you know what, I'm going to bypass that. I've already got 3 double game week players. I don't need to get any more in. I'm going to start thinking about game week 24 or 25. Let's have a quick look at the upcoming fixtures. This is taken from double game week 24 to game week 28. I will do another video with future planning, so like blank game week 29 and other game weeks where I'm going to be using my chip strategy. So I'll go into much more details in that upcoming video. So make sure you're subscribed and got the notifications on so you know when that video's out. This is ordered via difficulty, and as you can see, Everton and Liverpool are the top 2 teams because of the double game weeks. Everton, I did say they have decent enough fixtures that if you did triple up or double up, you can work with them. Some games you could bench them, some games you could play them. But if you look at the fixtures, Crystal Palace, Manchester United, Brentford and Wolves, they're pretty decent. So if you're going Pickford, for example, you could play him in all of those games. No issues at all. Liverpool, after the double, they go straight into Wolves. So if you've got the triple attack, you're laughing. Then Man City, they can't defend either. So that's a good fixture. Newcastle's a bit trickier, but then game week 28 is Southampton. So the Liverpool triple up, you can stay on them for a little while. Just have a plan in place for game week 29 where Liverpool more than likely will blank. Brentford, third on the list. This is why I discussed Mbeumo and Wissa. They're the 2 options I like from Brentford. I'm not really keen on any other options. I've already got Mbeumo. I could double up and get Wissa later on. Chelsea's fixtures are still good. So if you've got Jackson, yes, I know he's been frustrating. Loads have sold him to Gakpo last week. So fair play if you got that massive haul in time. And Palmer, I know he's been a bit frustrating recently, but the fixtures are still good. We're not going to sell him, are we? I spoke about Bournemouth and they're a bit further down on this list, but don't be fooled. That's because the Liverpool waiting is so strong. After that, look at Bournemouth's fixtures. Southampton, Wolves, Brighton and Tottenham. I 100% will have one of their attacking players. It's a possibility I actually double up. So as you can see, taking a quick look at the fixture ticker here, the players I've discussed about transferring in this game week are not just for the double game week 24, they're also giving you opportunities for the upcoming game weeks. Before I run through my transfers for double game week 24, I want to remind you, we have midweek fixtures. Liverpool, Arsenal, Aston Villa and Manchester City playing the Champions League. Then you've got Tottenham and Manchester United in Europa League. So just be warned, please. I know you're trying to catch prize rises, but we could get injuries. Right, this is how my team's more than likely going to be looking for the double game week 24 deadline. As you can see, I've used 2 free transfers and left 0.4 in the bank. I've not made these moves yet, but these are my projected moves I've been planning, and I think I've landed here. So last week I was going to go sales to Pickford. I've changed that strategy. I did consider Alisson, but I've gone back now and I've gone for the double attack. Gakpo's coming in, he replaces Chris Wood. Chris Wood's only recently come in, so I'll feel a bit bad getting rid of him, and he's a player that can return in any game week. But I'm chasing the double game weeks, plus the fixtures for Liverpool are better than Nottingham Forest upcoming fixtures, like we saw earlier in the fixture ticker. Next, Raul Jimenez is going for Ndai. I can't believe it, double game week season is here. Me buying an Everton attacker. Now this is very punty here, mainly because Everton hardly score goals. I'm hoping this changes under Moyes. Plus when you throw in the penalties, as I think DCL is out, it looks like he's the allocated penalty taker. And when you add it's Leicester in the first game, the Liverpool game is just a bonus, I would take the gamble. After that, I'm planning to start benching him and only play him if I really need him. The reason I say this, in game week 25, I'm looking to move Saar to Kluivert, which means I'll be playing a 3-5-2. Very strong midfield, 2 attackers with Ndai on the bench. So I'm more than happy with that permutation. That's the thinking behind that move and why I can afford to let Raul Jimenez go for Ndai. Now, this would leave me with 5 double game week players. I think this is a perfect amount of players to attack the double game week. Now, Liverpool have 2 very difficult away games. We've seen how Bournemouth have been playing. Now, that's not stopped me from tripling up because I think Liverpool is the best team in the Premier League. Plus, the fixtures after the double game week. For example, game week 25 is Wolves. So it's not an issue. I've got no problem with having a triple up. Everton one I've already explained. I've got permutations on the bench where I can rotate them. So if Greaves has a difficult fixture in 25, I can play Gabriel or Hall. And that goes the same for Ndai. I can play my 5th midfielder, which I did say to you, more than likely is going to be Kluivert. Now, this is my strategy and planning for the next 2 game weeks. So after game week 25, I'm planning on rolling a couple of more game weeks, building up the transfers, giving me the opportunity to be able to take on blank game week 29 without using the free hit. This is my current thinking. Of course, it could change. Injuries and other doubles could get added to the fixtures, which could change my plans immediately. But as of recording now, that's my thinking. I'm keeping my options open. And one of the reasons why I didn't consider Alisson, because I didn't want to make a goalkeeper change in a blank game week, where for an attacker, I could potentially bench them or sell them in upcoming game weeks, where you're always reluctant to make goalkeeper transfers. So how would I line up for the game week 24? Well, as you can see on the screen, I would be starting Sales in goal versus Brighton at home. I think that's a good enough fixture with potential clean sheets. I know Nottingham Forest took a good beating in the last game, but surely they go back to the norm and keep it much more tighter. After that, I've got a back 3. It's currently Trent, Mikalenko, both with doubles, and Hall. Hall could go to Gabriel. I'm always reluctant to bench Gabriel. I know Manchester City are more than likely going to score, but the potential of set pieces and the way Man City have been defending does worry me. I mean, even Greaves, who scored against Liverpool, breaking that clean sheet in game week 23, has a great fixture in Southampton at home, but you're just never sure if he starts. So currently got him and Gabriel on the bench. Midfield, I've gone for Salah, Palmer, Mbeumo and Gordon. Happy with that midfield. Gordon against Fulham, I think that's a good fixture, and Mbeumo against Tottenham, the way Spurs are defending at the moment, this could be a really good game. Hence the reason I said he could be popular this week, but 100% next week, people will be buying him. Palmer recently has frustrated us, hasn't looked 100%, and to be honest, Chelsea have dropped off a little as well. But with West Ham up next, he's not going nowhere. Salah, we do need to talk about him. Double game week for him normally means the triple captainship. Now, if you do have it, I can't see no reason why you wouldn't use it here. I've already used mine early in the season. Unfortunately, it wasn't the best return, but we did get an attacking return, so I will take it. 2 tricky fixtures for Salah, but I mean, this season he's only blanked 3 times, so it tells you how consistent he is, and I do see him getting at least 2 attacking returns in the double. So if you are using triple captain, you should be in for a treat. He is predicted by the models around 13.7 points. If you're using an assistant manager chip, which is available now, I am going to do a separate video detailing when I'm going to use it, how it should be used to maximize your points. If you are looking to activate it for game week 24, 2 things you need to remember. Cannot be tripled up with Liverpool players because you need a Liverpool slot for slot. Yeah, didn't think that through, did I? And another thing to remember, when you do activate it, you actually need to have a transfer in the bank to be able to bring a manager in. Just in case you wasn't aware of that. It's not a chip that you press and it's immediately just available to you. If you don't have a transfer in the bank, you won't be able to bring a manager in. So just bear that in mind. Apart from needing funds, you need the transfer. So this is what I was saying to you. I'm planning on rolling a bit more transfers, so I am ready to attack the chips later on in the season. Up top, it'll be a front three with 2 doublers, Gakpo and Ndai with Isaac. I'm more than happy with this front three here. Like I said to you earlier on, Ndai could become a bench player straight away as I change Saw to Kluivert. That'll be my midfield 5 for the next upcoming games. More than happy with that. Don't need to make any moves. So what do you think of my starting 11 for Game Week 24? Get in the comments and let me know if you like it or you're not too sure about it. I hope you enjoyed the video, but more importantly, I hope you found the video useful. Do me a favor, get in the comments and let me know which players you're bringing in. Give me your Liverpool triple up and Everton triple up. I'm intrigued to know what other FPL managers are doing. Before you jump off to your next video, like and subscribe. As I said, I'm trying to get 100 likes on this video, so let's see if we can make this happen. If you're interested in taking part in the predictions league I run weekly on my live streams, definitely watch this video on the screen right now. It will have all the information you need.